Okay, you're there. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's sneak peek of the Prompt Action AI workshop. My name is Florencia, and I work as a learning analyst at TVO Lab. And as part of our training solutions, we wanted to offer this brief session to share with you some key insights on future workshops to come. Today we have Scott Jackson as our main speaker. Hello there, welcome Scott.
Thank you.
Scott is our innovation manager at TVO and he specializes in language technology and AI-based solutions for the localization industry. Today, we're also joined by Alvina, who is our senior VM analyst in the vendor management department. There, hello, Alvi, who's there in Ukraine, there. And we also have as a special guest, Mariana Cravero, who is our accounts payable analyst in the administration area. Well, together with Scott, they will be sharing their experience applying AI-driven solutions in their daily tasks, okay? So I will just be here monitoring the chat in case you have any questions or comments that we'll try to address towards the end of the presentation. I will just now mute myself and hand it over to Scott, who will guide you through today's topic, okay?
All right. Thank you very much, Flor. Thank you very much, Mariana and Alvina, for being here. And thank you to everyone that's watching us live on LinkedIn. So we'd like to just say a few words about what's the idea of this workshop. As you can tell by the title, Prompt Action, we're going to be looking at prompting. We're going to be looking at the context of working with LLMs or large language models. Specifically, we're going to be looking at the process, the full process that may be required for building actual tools that we can use as digital professionals. So all of us here in TVO, obviously we work a lot with language services. We do a lot with translation, localization, but these are things that are going to be applicable basically for any professional, any industry that works with digital files, digital processes. With Mariana and Alvina, we've already had a couple conversations about tools that they'd like to build for their particular roles. And with that, we're going to kind of dive into a process that's kind of already started. So we have a prototype of a tool that we've already kind of developed. They're not exactly ready for the next steps to be used in real life situations, but that's kind of the purpose of what we'd like to share with this workshop. As you can see, we're calling it a collaborative AI workshop. That means that we have somebody that's helping in the development role, which is me in this case, and then somebody that has the concept or the use case that they're working with. And so that's basically what Alvina and Mariana are going to be doing. We do want to welcome questions from anyone who might be watching us on LinkedIn. And obviously we want to welcome questions in general. So Mariana. Few words about LLMs and prompting. A lot of people may be familiar, obviously, with using ChatGPT or Gemini for doing work with LLMs and prompting. We specifically are going to be using what's called the ChatBot variant. So both ChatGPT and Gemini have ways of building custom chatbots. So that's really where you get a step up in productivity instead of just using ChatGPT or Gemini as just a regular user. We've been doing a lot of work with these custom chatbots in TBO, and in general, I would like to encourage people to think of this kind of technology as an accessible software. That means that it's accessible right now. It's accessible. This kind of technology is accessible for a lot of people to use, and it's with that access, we have the ability to create tools that actually do important jobs, that we can share with teams, that we can develop on an ongoing basis. So if we think of software as a spectrum, software is a huge spectrum. There's lots of different platforms that we can use, different tools that we can use. Some of these tools allow us to create new tools. So there's just a huge range of functionality that's available to us right now with large language models and prompting. We basically have the ability to create new digital processes, create new workflows, just using human language. So human language as a way of programming computers is a good perspective to have with when using LLMs. So let me see what we have next. Once we get into start working with ChatGPT and Gemini, we'll see that there's some pros and cons that we can identify with both of those. The good thing is that when we're working with these custom chatbots, they have a very similar overall structure. And in both cases, the design of what we're doing, that is the documents that we're going to be using to train those models or work inside those models, and also the prompts that we use as the instructions for those chatbots, they're essentially portable. That means that you can take what you do in one of them and move it into the other one, or if there are other platforms that you're working with, other LLMs that also allow you to do custom chatbots or custom instances of the LLM, whatever you do should be portable across all of these systems, because they're basically prompting plus knowledge documents. The other thing that is worth mentioning is any kind of custom bots that you might build on either of these platforms are extendable. So ChatGPT and Gemini have different characteristics when it comes to extendability, but in general, these bots have the ability to be plugged into other systems, to be expanded to work in other contexts. One of the terms that a lot of people may know right now is AI agent, which is kind of a buzzword at the moment. Both of these platforms, ChatGPT and Gemini, do give you the ability to expand your bot to become more involved in other contexts as more of like an AI agent. They do that in different ways. We're not going to be getting that far, but just as an overview, if we're thinking of this technology as a kind of accessible software for digital professionals, it's good to keep in mind that the trend for the trend in innovation for both of these companies, pretty much all these companies that are opening up this kind of technology right now, is to make these things extendable, expandable, something that you can plug into other workflows. And so we'll take a look at that later. We probably won't get to that today. Anyway, I'd like to just say a quick word about how we're going to work with either ChatGPT or Gemini when we're working when we're working in either of these platforms. The structure for developing one of these chatbots is pretty much the same. There's some slight differences, but basically what we'll see is that we have a representation of the chat window, which is what the user will see. And then we have an area for what's called the instructions or the system prompt. And then we have another area for the knowledge documents that we're going to be uploading into the bot. And as we mentioned, the basic design is the same for both, and this will probably be the basic design for other platforms too that allow you to create custom chatbots. So just to keep in mind, this is the structure that we're using, and once we start looking at these specific cases, this will make a little bit more sense. Okay, so I'd like to invite Mariana onto the call. Mariana, welcome.
Hi, Scott. Hi, everybody. And thank you for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here.
Well, thank you for being here. So, Mariana, can you just tell us a little bit about what you do as in your job as a professional? What kind of stuff that you do, and just refresh me about what we talked about when you asked for a new chatbot for your area. What kind of things do you want it to do?
Well, I'm an account payable analyst. I'm in charge of sending most of the payments here at TVO. And as you said before, there's a lot of tasks in my position that are quite repetitive, and one of them is the sending of the email. I send a lot of emails, but the content of them is usually the same. So I asked you about this chatbot because I believed that it was actually very Marv.
Uh, Yeah, well, that ties in perfectly for the next concept that we wanted to talk about, Marianne, which is identifying use cases. As you mentioned in your role, you tend to reply to a lot of emails. Since some of these can be very manual, repetitive, meaning the subject can be repetitive, these would be things that we can use to determine what's a good use case. So a lot of people, when they use ChatGPT or whatever, they just might do a random chat and then never use it again. When we go through the trouble of creating a chat bot, we want to make sure that the use case is something that justifies the work, meaning we can use it over time. So as you mentioned, we have this little acronym here, which is MARV. And this basically reminds us of the things that we should recognize when we want to identify a use case. Something that's manual, something that's annoying, repetitive, but also valuable, meaning that it has value for company, for our organization, or what have you. So does that sound like in your case we would call this a Marv situation?
Yeah, it's really indeed very Marv. It's very valuable to keep in my area. It's very important to keep all communications. However, they are very manual and repetitive. So if you thought the bot would be great help, and I hope it will.
Right. So let's take a look quickly. What right now for Mariana, what we started to do is we started to build an admin bot. Of course, we can give this a more creative title later. Later. And now this one we set up in Gemini, and we can see basically the structure that we saw in the slides earlier. Here we have the area for the instructions. We have a preview of the user interface, and then down below we have the knowledge documents. So with Gemini, one of the big strengths that Gemini has is you can load links directly to Google Docs. So in this case, we have links. We've basically uploaded 3 Google Docs. So in the case of the admin bot, one of these documents is called admin emails. So this is a good best practice for people that want to generate dynamic emails. So basically, what we've done here is we've loaded a bunch of real emails. These are all emails that you sent, correct, Mariana?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So this has your own personal style, your own personal flair.
Yes, it's pretty much what I write over and over.
Okay. Wonderful. So the big difference is obviously we anonymize these, so we don't want any, personal information showing up directly in the mails, just in case if it were there, the person's name might show up in the response to a different person. Eventually, what we want to do with all of these training documents is just anonymize them, and we use brackets to basically be able to pipe in information from another spreadsheet so that the correct information will come across. So basically, this is one of the things. We've built a few bots in TBO where we do use email histories to basically create these anonymized templates. So in this particular one, we have, the subject is the vendor is asking how can they change their payment method to PayPal. Okay, so that's one of the things that's in there. Another thing is the actual prompt. This is kind of an advanced technique, but basically here in the instructions, our instruction is please follow the instructions contained in the knowledge doc called admin bot system prompt. So that's something that may not be obvious for most users, but basically our instructions for the bot, the whole prompt, are in this Google Doc right here. So anytime that we wanted to change the actual functionality of the bot, we would just need to edit this document. And every time we use the bot over here in Gemini, it's basically reading its instructions directly from this. So as you can see in our prompt, we have a personality section. We say what the user interface is that we want to offer to the user. So we show a little menu, and then for each menu option, we have a definition of what actions it needs to take for each of these menu items. And then we have another sheet that's called vendor details, and that's basically a spreadsheet that has details about the different vendors and the status of their current invoice and things like that. How are we up to there? Does that seem to make sense?
It makes sense to me. Yes.
Okay.
I was wondering, like if I wanted the bot to be a little more firm or a little more kind to, a little kinder to the person I need to reply an email to, I will need to change that part you're now showing.
Yeah.
Like I
So
could say that you should be more firm with this person, maybe.
yeah.
Oh, that's good.
That's an interesting idea. I mean, normally, when people define the personality of the bot, they put that in the prompt. Here we have a section that we call the personality prompt. So if we wanted to have like a fixed personality, in general, we could say something like, in general, you are polite and accommodating, or something like
Right.
that. Okay. However, if you wanted to create like a conditional personality type, that would be something that you could do maybe below in the functions or in the personality type. You could basically create a new part of the prompt that says, if condition X, your personality is Y. If condition A, your personality is B. Um, as we mentioned at the
Yeah.
beginning, we're basically doing programming, computer programming. So with prompts, when you do those conditionals, you're using human language instead of symbols. So, for example, here we have a sentence that says, if user does not provide the text for the vendor email, please ask for it. So we're using the word if to basically signal that there's a condition that needs to be met. So
Right.
you can ask it to do anything. If you want the personality to change depending on the situation, you can say that. You just need to express it with text.
That's good. That's very
Okay.
interesting. It's very
Yeah.
helpful too.
Right. Okay. So let's just do a quick little demo here of the admin bot. So, for
Okay.
example, we have a. Let me just first start with a hello. And so, as we saw in the prompt, it's possible to create just basic interfaces or menus that the user can access. So here we can see that we want to offer, respond to a vendor query, draft notification email, or other query. So when we go over to the bot, we said hello, and here you can see that it's showing us this menu. So just with that prompt, we now have a user interface. Okay, so hello, I see you're ready to get started. Please choose a function by entering the corresponding number. So we want to respond, let's say we want to respond to a vendor query in this case. We're going to use one. Now it's asking us, please provide the full text of the new email vendor. So right now we're assuming that we're going to do copy paste of the email. At a later point, since this is Google, what's going to happen is most likely Google is basically incorporating Gemini into all the other systems. It's very likely that at some moment we can load one of our own custom bots directly into Gmail to be able to draft mails. For now, we're going to be using this as in a kind of copy paste situation. So let's say we have a mail from the vendor that says, please notify me regarding the current status of my invoice. And the vendor in this case is Paul McCartney. Just randomly, Paul McCartney appears to be a translator in our database. He translates into Scouse for all of you Anglophiles out there. Okay, so draft email. So as you can see, first the bot is just telling us that they found the details for Paul McCartney. So it's basically reading off this sheet up here, which has the details of our recent invoices. And all of this, by the way, is part of the Google Suite at TVO. We're using the Google Suite, so all of this information is company information that we're accessing internally. We wouldn't necessarily send this out to a system where we don't have enterprise level controls. So if we scroll down here, we can see what the draft email is. So we have, hello, Paul McCartney. We are ready to send the payment for the outstanding balance of 87 USD. We currently have your payment method as ACH. For smaller amounts like this, we can also use PayPal if you prefer. Please confirm if you would like us to proceed with the existing ACH. How does that mail look to you, Mariana?
That is incredibly helpful. It's pretty much what I write over and over, and it's so time saving to know. Also, the option of changing ACH to PayPal, depending on the amount, it's incredible. It's incredibly helpful.
Okay. So just for the since we talked about this earlier and we have already done the process, one of the things that we're automating with this tool is we're basically bringing together the email templates on one hand with
Yes.
the invoice data. Previously, you had to do a manual process of copy pasting the email template and then manually retrieving the invoice data and merging those together for the email.
Yeah, I mean, I usually selected all the emails that I needed to reply that had the same like a type of email. For example, this one, let's say. and I would write once the text, and then I would copy and paste the details, jumping from the Excel sheet to the email where I was writing, and it over and over and over. It's usually the same information, maybe changing the number or the payment information depending on exactly what they asked, but basically over and over the same thing.
Um, you know,
So this
anyone
is
that's
why it's very helpful.
absolutely. Anyone that's received a billing statement by email or mail has seen template emails or template letters that have our details piped into certain places. That's nothing new. Traditionally, those are called like rule based systems, meaning the structure of the email is fixed. So they will fix the template, and then when they send you your statement for the month, the template won't change. What will change is that your amounts will change for that month. The difference between this kind of system is that we can do dynamic templates. So the templates can change and they can pull in the accurate um, invoice details
So,
dynamically.
so let's say the vendor Paul McCartney wants to change her current ACH payment, the current payment method from ACH to Pioneer. I
Okay.
can upload that on my sheet, and the bot will take the new information.
Yeah.
Will take Pioneer instead of ACH again.
Yes, because if we remember in Gemini, we are in our knowledge documents, we're linking directly to
Right,
live files. So anytime you
right.
make changes to those files, that the new information will go into the bot essentially.
Does it work the same with Excel sheets, or I will upload the Excel sheet? Oh, actually, I have it with.
No, Excel sheets won't if you upload an Excel sheet as just a standalone file, you would have to make changes on your local copy, delete
Right.
the
No,
other
but I can.
version.
Yes,
Yeah.
I understand. I understand. But it's the same, because in the end, I always um use the Google Suite.
Okay.
So yeah,
Wonderful.
but it is incredibly helpful.
Okay, I'm just going to close this example with our famous code 999. We typically use the code 999 or some other code to basically refresh the conversation memory. As you know, in any conversation with ChatGPT or Gemini, uh, our current session accumulates a memory of all the comments that we made. Since we're working with data, we want to basically empty the memory when we start a new query or start a new conversation. So one of the things that we can do with prompting is that we can create custom codes, special codes, and we put that in the prompt. So as you can see in our prompt here, we have an area called special codes, 999, and then what that does is deletes the conversation and restarts a new conversation with a fresh memory. So that's a best practice also, especially working with live data. So you can see after I loaded in 999 here, it tells me memory cleared. We can start a new conversation. All right. Well, Mariana, thank you very much for your use case and for
No, thank
being
you.
a willing participant in this.
Thank you.
Alvina, you're welcome. Thank you. So, Alvina, let's start with your example. Could you just give us a very brief introduction about what you do in your role, and what is the use case that you are interested in developing with your new bot?
Hi Scott, hi everyone. I'm so excited to learn more about AI. The acronym MARV is now in my memory. I'm a senior VM analyst, and I'm really interested in how AI could help us simplify and speed up repetitive tasks and to process the data faster. Um, I'm really wonder how we can use AI to find the information about pricing.
Right. So one of the things that we talked about, this may affect other companies too, especially other language service providers. We all work with lots of vendors. We may have price management systems that are very complex, that are hard to keep up to date because we may have hundreds of different price lists, even thousands of different price lists with all the different freelancers, all the different partner agencies. So that's kind of the situation that you have. Is that correct? Of having many, many different kinds of price lists in different formats?
Exactly.
Okay. So, one of the things that we wanted to look at with this bot is first we wanted to decide a format that could be a universal format for storing these, for unifying and storing these price lists, and then basically putting together, a bot structure to see how well the bot can let us query the price list. Again, um, the beauty of these kind of situations, especially when working with real data, is that we can have dynamic queries instead of just pre-built queries. So let's just take a quick look over at our structure here. So in this case, we are in ChatGPT now. This is the setup area for our price bot. In this case, we don't have any links to any files as we did in the last bot. Here, our system prompt is directly included as text in the instructions area. So here we have personality. You're an assistant to a vendor manager at an LSP that helps to respond to queries about vendor prices. And then we have, this is a very simple prompt so far. We're just saying, please base your answers only on the knowledge document called price list demo. So right now, there's really not a lot in the prompt. The main thing is that we did upload our file. This is anonymized for this demo. So you can see that we have lists of all the different language pairs, and then the name of the vendor, the name of the service for each of these language pairs. So what this represents is that we've already combined price lists from different vendors into a new unified structure. So if we really want to get the functionality that we're looking for and really solve a use case or solve a business need, part of that has to happen in the reorganization of the data before we get the data into the chatbot structure. So right now, this already represents an improvement because if we were to continue unifying all of our price structures, at least having them in this format would give us the ability to analyze things in Excel from a single source. That has its pros and cons, obviously, but we think there's more pros than cons in moving forward with this. So anyway, that Excel file we've loaded up here. And so let's just have a look and see what it does. So Alvina, what would be, for example, a kind of query or question that you might be interested in asking for the price bot?
I would like to ask if chatbot can show us the prices for English into Chinese language.
Okay. So please show prices for English into Chinese. We'll see if it takes that. So one thing we've noticed with other, bots of this type is that even small keywords or codes are functional as prompts. So, we might at a later time just try a smaller version of the prompt, which maybe looks something like this, which is the language codes. Um, but for right now, we're just using more of like a grammatically correct prompt. And ChatGPT is taking its time. We did have an oh, sorry. Here it comes. So both ChatGPT and Gemini have internal modules or internal capabilities of dealing with Excel data. Both of them are able to process it now. So when we're using ChatGPT or Gemini for live demos, in some ways you're basically asking for trouble for doing that. The alternate title for this workshop series is actually asking for trouble. And as you can see now, for some reason, it doesn't want to show the visuals. So usually that's because of ChatGPT. That's usually not because of the prompt. There's a couple of workarounds that many of you may have discovered before, which is reloading the chatbot, waiting. ChatGPT is not the most reliable service in the world. In this case, we've also coded this special code 999 into the bot. And so that should be able to refresh the memory. Sometimes when you refresh the memory, it does a better job of reproducing the results again. So we wanted to show, please show the prices for English to Chinese, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. While that's doing that, Alvina, what other kind of analyses or queries would be interesting for you as a VM specialist?
The great idea would be to find out the most competitive, cheapest rates with the help of the chatbot, as well as, for example, top vendors for any language, like top vendors for German, for example. Oh, here we go. That's great, actually.
Okay, so yeah, so this time it did a better job. Here it actually gave us some results. So you can see that ChatGPT does have the ability to work with Excel data, and so when it does give you examples, it shows you this table structure. So these are made up rates here. These rates are fictional for the ABC currency. But as you can see, we asked it for rows. We asked for prices. So basically, it's showing us all of the rows in our Excel file. And so we can actually export that. Here it says download table. So if we were to download this, it basically downloads this small short result as its own Excel file. So you could download these directly as an Excel file if you needed to send that to somebody or just keep it on hand. So so that's one way of doing it. As with Mariana's bot, we can create dynamic queries that are not typical fixed queries that you would find in other platforms. So for example, sometimes we might have a new account or a new client possibility that deals with a region or deals with a category of languages that might not be classified or contained in the original price lists. For example, the price lists might not have a region categorized for each language, but as the situation may arise, we may have a situation like this. Please show top vendors, or let's just say, please show all prices for Eastern European languages. So basically, we're asking for a characteristic of these languages that probably wasn't contained in the original lists and is not contained in our actual price list anywhere. So this is one of the interesting things also, is that when using these models, the LLM is using its LLMness to basically try to understand your data based on what it knows about the world, because of the fact that it's been trained as an LLM based on all of the text that it can find on the internet. So when we ask for Eastern European languages, it's looking at our data, and then it's trying to determine which one of those are Eastern European languages. And then, of course, it does this data processing transformation, and it's showing us as a data table all of the rows that it could find in our data. So here, as you can see in target language, we have Romanian, Czech, Hungarian, Bulgarian, Lithuanian, Ukrainian, Croatian, etc. So it looks like it's working to do things like that. What do you think, Alvina? Is this a project that you would like to continue working on?
Yeah, this pricing feature would be definitely a great help for me and our team, and I would like to learn more about it and to play a little bit.
Wonderful. Well, we will definitely be following up on this particular project. I think we're at about time. Is that correct, Flor?
Yes, that's right, Scott. So thank you, and thank the girls for being here, sharing their experience, and well, being part of this live session. And of course, thanks Scott for sharing all these insights. Then, and I hope you found it useful. I think it has been enlightening for most of us here to see these real life examples put into practice. Then, well, as you can see there on the screen, there's the QR code for you to share your feedback. And we would also like to invite you to the next webinar that would be next week. I will just leave the link here for you to sign up there, and we will have the girls from the recruiting team sharing some tips. That will be next week on November 6th. So we will be seeing you soon, okay? And of course, you can also follow us on Instagram so as to be the first to learn about our podcast talks, next webinars, courses, and everything, all right? Thank you very much for joining, and well, thanks Scott, Alvi, and Marian for being part of this session.
Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thanks a lot.
Real pleasure. Then
Cheers.
have a nice rest of the day, everyone.
Thank you.